Columns of smoke rising over Buckhead earlier today after an apartment complex caught fire. The Havana at Midtown apartment building appears to be a complete loss, with several units damaged and part of the building collapsing. Just to give you an idea of where this is, it is right next to the Lindbergh MARTA station. Joe Henke is there for us right now. And Joe, this fire left a lot of people without a place to call home at one of the worst times.
A lot of people without homes. The fire is still active as firefighters are putting out hotspots. To give you a lay of the land, the Lindbergh MARTA station immediately to my right, the apartments in question. In the distance there where firefighters are still on the top of ladder trucks right now pouring water on those hotspots from above. We have a look here with chopper video of the Havana on Main apartments after Atlanta Fire put out some of the flames. You can see just how extensive the damage is on the top floor. Atlanta Fire first received 911 calls a bit after noon. The fire forced the entire building to evacuate, an Atlanta Fire Sergeant tells me. The fire, he added, started toward the top of the building, possibly in the 4th floor or the attic. At some point, the fire spread through the shared attic space. It then dropped into 4th floor units before eventually causing around 60% of the attic and 4th floor to collapse. At that point, firefighters quickly finished searching for anyone still inside. They pulled back. I talked with a resident. He lives on the top floor. He said he was looking out his window. He started seeing flames about 100 feet away near some AC units on the roof. It's unclear if the fire started there or somewhere below the AC units in the building, but here's what he described seeing.
So there are some AC units on the roof, and suddenly there's like a huge flame, a burst of fire, and like within 15-20 seconds, the other AC units start bursting. So, I mean, I knew it's going to be like big. It's not a small deal. So I just grabbed a few things and ran out.
And firefighters are now going through putting out hotspots. There's a parking structure in the middle of the building. I'm told while putting out hotspots there, a wall collapsed on top of several firefighters, seriously injuring a captain's knee. He is expected to be okay, but he did need to head to the hospital to have that knee treated. Now, between fire damage, smoke damage, extensive water damage, and also electrical damage, Atlanta Fire is considering this building to be a loss. It is destroyed even for the 1st and 2nd floor. Now, as far as people on the 1st and 2nd floor that have belongings there, they might be able to salvage some of those items, but there are concerns that more of the building, Atlanta Fire tells me, that more of the building will still collapse. So everyone other than firefighters are being kept out for the time being. If anyone is allowed to go back inside, they would have to be escorted. We'll send it back to you in studio.